Yes, good morning, everyone. For the determination of quorum, allow me to conduct the roll call. Thank you, sir. May I request everyone to confirm your attendance once I call your name. Thank you. Starting with our presiding officer, our vice chairman, Major General Ricardo Banayat. Thank you, sir. Attorney Frank Edward Marty.
Hi, good morning everyone. Frank Edward Marty here, attending online, present po.
Good morning, attorney. Engineer Jaime Cosep.
Present po.
We also have representative from our end user, Mr. Albert Velasco and Sir Roger Abalo. Good morning, sirs.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning po. Also with us in the conference room is the BAC Technical Working Group headed by Attorney Mark Nestor Mendoza.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning po. Also, BAC Secretariats po are present. We also have representative from I-XII, Ms. Karen Quintor.
Good morning po.
Good morning, ma'am. With that, sir, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So,
Yes, sir.
yes, please continue.
For the presentation of the agenda, I will hand over to Engineer Norik Baez, sir. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning once again to everyone. First on our meeting agenda proper is the Pre-bid Conference for the project supply and delivery of spare parts for the repair and maintenance of air conditioning system at Manila CNS ATM Facility under bid number 23-030-09 Bravo with an ABC of 1,447,000 pesos, an ANS project. I'll be making the presentation, and Secretariat, do we have any prospective bidders for this project? There is none. Mr. Chair, according to our Secretariat, there is no prospective bidder who will be participating in today's scheduled conference, but even so, as prescribed by the rules, we will still be continuing this activity, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ito ba yung tara dyan sa
ATMC,
NAIA?
sir.
NAIA?
Oh,
NAIA? Yan ba yan? Dito sa
CNS ATM Facility, sir.
Okay.
ATMC, Philippine
Yes.
ATMC, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, sir. All right, this will be the private conference for the project supply and delivery of spare parts for the repair and maintenance of air conditioning system at Manila CNS ATM Facility. The outline of the presentation is as shown on the screen, starting off with the invitation to bid, then followed by the instruction to bidders and with corresponding BDS, general conditions of the contract with corresponding SEC, the schedule of requirements, technical specifications, and checklist. CAAP, through the CAAP Corporate Operating Budget of fiscal year 2023, intends to apply the sum of 1,477,000 pesos, being the ABC to payments under the contract for bid number 23-030-09 Bravo. Bids received in excess of the ABC shall be automatically rejected at the bid opening. CAAP now invites bids for the above procurement project. Delivery of goods is required within 45 calendar days. Bidders should have completed within 2 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2 of the instruction to bidders. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizens, sole proprietorships, partnerships, or organizations with at least 60% interest or outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines. and to citizens or organizations of a country the laws or regulations of which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA 5183. Prospective bidders may obtain further information from BAC Secretariat and expect the bidding documents at the address that will be shown later from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday except declared holidays and suspension of work. Complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by interested bidders from September 13, 2023 until the deadline of submission of bid from the address that will also be shown later on the slide below upon payment of the applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guidelines issued by the GPPB in the amount of 5,600 pesos, which is inclusive of 12% VAT. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through email. And then bids must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission at the office address on or before October 4, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by a bid security in any of the acceptable forms in the amount stated in the ITB Clause 14. Bid opening shall be on October 4, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. And then bids will be opened in the presence of the bidders' representatives who choose to attend the activity. CAAP reserves the right to reject any and all bids, declare a failure of bidding, or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with sections 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 revised IRR of 9184, without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. Now, for further information, please refer to Ms. Gary M. JD, the head of BAC Secretariat, with the following contact information. And then, as shown on the slide, are the websites where the bidding documents can also be downloaded. Moving on to the instruction to bidders with corresponding BDS. So I won't be going through each of the ITB. Instead, I will be presenting the specific requirements relative to the standard clauses of the ITB. Starting off with the eligibility of the bidders. For this purpose, contracts similar to the project shall be supply and delivery of spare parts for air conditioning units and completed within 2 years prior to the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. Further, on the bid prices, the price of goods shall be quoted DDP, CAAP, Mayor Road, Pasay City, or the applicable international commercial terms for this project. More on bid security, it shall be in the form of a bid securing declaration or any of the following forms and amounts. The amount of not less than 29,540 pesos, which is equivalent to 2% of the ABC. If bid security is in cash, cashier's or manager's check, bank draft, guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit, or the amount of not less than 73,850 pesos, which is equivalent to 5% of the ABC if bid security is in surety bond. More on the sealing and marking of bids. Each page shall be initialed by the duly and authorized representatives of the bidder. The submitted eligibility, technical, and financial components shall be properly marked with index stubs and must be sequentially paginated. So bids not complying with the above instructions shall be automatically disqualified. Each bidder shall be required to submit only one copy of the first and second components of its bid. Per CAAP memorandum regarding the disqualification of prospective bidders with pending case against the government in the procurement activities of CAAP, all prospective bidders shall be required to submit the certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government and the legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP Enforcement and Legal Service. The slide shows an illustration how the bidder should be able to comply with the requirement on the index tab and the signing of each and every pages that are sequentially arranged. Then the next slide also illustrates how the eligibility and technical requirements to be contained in one or in the first envelope, and at which these two documents shall be sequentially paginated on the per envelope basis, and the second envelope must contain the financial proposal. Moving on to the general conditions of the contract with corresponding SCC. For the scope of the contract, on the delivery and documents, for the purpose of this clause, the procuring entity's representative at the project site is Engineer Darwin V. Calio, Acting Division Chief 3, Electromechanical Monitoring and Inspection Division of Air Navigation Operations Division. For the incident services, the supplier must provide all services, including extras in Section 6, maintain and repair goods, and supply necessary tools. The contract price includes these services and must not exceed the standard rates. For the packaging, the supplier must package the goods to prevent damage during transit, considering rough handling, extreme weather, and storage conditions. The packaging should account for the remoteness of the destination and lack of heavy handling facilities. It must comply with the contract's requirements and any additional instructions from the procuring entity. For the transportation, the supplier is responsible for arranging and paying for the transport of goods to the specified destination in the Philippines, with costs included in the contract price. So this is actually a reiteration of the BDS requirement for ITB clause on the bid prices. And lastly, on the intellectual property rights, the supplier shall indemnify the procuring entity against all third-party claims of infringement of patent, trademark, or industrial design rights arising from use of the goods or any part thereof. For the inspection and test, functionality and reliability tests will be conducted after the maintenance. Moving on to the schedule of requirements. Shown on the slide is the table showing all the items that must be delivered in this project with the corresponding quantity on each item, and all these items listed on the table must be delivered within the 45 calendar days as required in this project. So all in all, there are 39 items. For the technical specifications, the bidding requirement for this project requires all the items that was shown earlier listed in the table to have a statement of compliance. So there should be 39 lines that should contain the statement of compliance that must be submitted by the bidder. For the checklist, starting with the technical component envelope, a valid PhilJEPS registration certificate, platinum membership, all pages. Then the statement of the prospective bidder of all its ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract to be bid. And then the statement of the bidder's SLCC, similar to the contract to be bid except under conditions provided for in sections 23.4.1.3 and 23.4.2.4 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 within the relevant period as provided in the bidding documents. So original copy of bid security, if in the form of a surety bond, submit also a certification issued by the Insurance Commission or original copy of notarized bid security declaration. And the conformity with the technical specifications, original duly signed OSS, and if applicable, original notarized secretary's certificate in case of a corporation, partnership, or cooperative, or original SPA of all members of the joint venture giving full power and authority to each officer to sign the OSS and do acts to represent the bidder. Legal clearance issued by the CAAP Enforcement and Legal Service. A certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government. Then a copy of bid bulletins, if applicable. Then manufacturer's data sheet of all items. Then the prospective bidder's computation of NFCC or a committed line of credit from a universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation. If applicable, a duly signed joint venture agreement in case the joint venture is already in existence, or duly notarized statements from all the potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the JVA in the instance that the bid is successful. For the financial component envelope, the original of duly signed and accomplished financial bid form and original of duly signed and accomplished price schedule. Other documentary requirements, there's for foreign bidders claiming by reason of their country's extension of reciprocal rights to Filipinos, certification from the relevant government office of their country stating that Filipinos are allowed to participate in government procurement activities for the same item or product, and a certification from the DTI if the bidder claims preference as a domestic bidder or domestic entity. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair. And we're supposed to open the floor for any discussion or further clarification since we don't have any prospective bidders who are present for this conference. That concludes the presentation, Mr. Chair.
Any comments from the members? Clarifications?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, please.
sir, considering that we do not have prospective bidders for this particular item, sir, we can now close this item for the pre-bid conference, and we'll just wait for the opening of, or submission and opening of bids, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Through the chair.
Yes, please.
Sir, we have the one prospective bidder, Dennis Adjan of Colward.
Okay. Sino yan?
Right, Mr. Chair. Through the Chair, may we call the attention of the prospective bidder who is present online?
Hello, Mr. Chair. Hello po. I'm Dennis Adjan of Cool World po.
Go ahead, please. Do you have any question, clarifications?
For now po, I have to review the documents first. Naipasa lang po kasi sa akin to, pero magpo-proceed pa rin po kami dito.
Through the Chair.
Yes, please.
Since we have a prospective bidder who is present online, I would like to add further clarification on the presented bidding document that must be submitted by the bidder. Sir, I would like to go back to the part, wait. Sorry. What's happening? Anyway, I'll just explain it verbally, Mr. Chair. I had a discussion with the end user regarding the requirement on the submission of all data sheet as part of the checklist that must be submitted by the bidder. And according to the end user, not all of the items are actually required to be provided for with the data sheet. Now, there are actually 16 items that only requires data sheet to be provided, Mr. Chair. And with that, Mr. Roger Abalo, the end user, in concurrence with them, the BAC will be issuing a bid bulletin for this reason, Mr. Chair. And further, because of that change in requirement, well, not necessarily a change requirement, but more further instruction on the requirement, we will be instructing the bidder to properly identify those data sheet that they will be submitting as part of their bid. That would be all, Mr. Chair.
Any more clarifications from the prospective bidder?
No more, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, just for the information of our prospective bidder, should you have any further inquiry or question or clarification, you still have 10 days before the opening of bids to submit your written requests for those questions to be answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any more? Any more comments? TWG?
We have done, Mr. Chair.
Shall we go to the next in the agenda?
Before moving on to the next agenda, may we request po the prospective bidders to be excused. Thank you for joining, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. For our next agenda, item 2.2, supply of technical services for updating preparation of electrical and as-built plan and electrical power system study or analysis of the Philippine ATMC with bid number 23-031-09 Bravo with an ABC of 5,400,000. So, Secretariat, is there any possible bidder for this project?
Good morning to our prospective bidders. May we request po to kindly identify your self and the company you are representing. Thank you. Starting with EP Solution Philippines, may we request po the representative? From FMESCNAR,
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
can you please identify yourself po?
I'm Greg Mark Plantas, and I have also my colleagues, Miss Nes Rondilla, Miss Janet de la Cruz, and Sir Nestor Rondilla, and Miss Krisha.
That is noted, sir. Thank you very much. How about representative from EP Solution?
Hi, good morning. I'm Santalia Marie Reyes. I'm here with my colleagues po. Some of my colleagues.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes,
From TSRG,
Hello, ma'am. Good morning. Daniel Marcos Panya po from PSRG.
good morning, sir. To the DWG, that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. So may we proceed, Mr. Chair, for the pre-bid conference for the project supply of technical services for updating preparation of electrical as-built plan and electrical power system study or analysis of the Philippine ATMC Center with bid number 23-031-09 Bravo. So for the presentation, this will be the outline. First is an invitation to bid, followed by the instruction to bidders with corresponding BDS, general conditions of the contract with the corresponding SCC, schedule of requirements, technical specifications, checklist, and discussion or clarification. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, through the CAAP Corporate Operating Budget for fiscal year 2023, intends to apply the sum of 5,400,000, being the ABC, to payments under the contract of each lot. Bids received in excess of the ABC for each lot shall be automatically rejected at bid opening. The CAAP now invites bid for the above procurement project. Delivery of the goods is required by 120 calendar days. Bidders should have completed within 7 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of an eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2, Instruction to Bidders. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in the 2016 revised RRR of RA 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizens, sole proprietorships, partnerships, or organizations with at least 60% interest of outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines, and to citizens or organizations of a country that laws or regulations of which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA number 5183. Prospective bidders may obtain further information from BAC Secretariat. The address will be given later during 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Mondays to Fridays, except declared holidays and suspension of work. A complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by interested bidders started 13 of September 2023 until the deadline of submission of bid from the given address, which will be shown later. Guidelines issued by the GPPB in the amount of 11,200, inclusive of 12% of VAT. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for the fees through email. The CAAP will hold a pre-bid conference, and it is today, through video conferencing or webcasting via Google Meet, which shall be open to prospective bidders. Bids must be duly received by the BAC Secretariat manual submission at the office address on or before 4th of October 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by a bid security in any of the acceptable forms in the amount stated in the ITB Clause 14. Bid opening shall be on 11 October 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Bid will be opened in the presence of the bid's representatives who choose to attend the activity. The CAAP reserves the right to reject any and all bids declare a failure of bidding or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with Section 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 revised RRR of RA 9184, without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. For more information, you may contact Mr. Gary M. JD, the Head Secretariat of BAC. You may also visit the following website. For the instruction to bidders with corresponding BDS, I'll just discuss the important parts in the instruction. For under eligible bidders, under 5.3, for the purpose, contract similar to the project shall be supply of technical services as electrical consultancy or facilities maintenance of electrical system, and completed within 7 years prior to the deadline for the submission of the receipt of bids. Next, under bid prices, the prices of the goods shall be quoted DDP, CAAP, Maya Road, Pasay City, or the applicable international commercial terms for this project. For bid security, the bid security shall be in the form of a bid securing declaration or any of the following forms and amounts. A, the amount of not less than 108,000 of bid security is in cash, cashier's or manager's check, bank draft, guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit. Or B, the amount of not less than 270,000 is bid security is in surety bond. For sealing and markings, each page shall be initially initialed by the duly authorized representatives of the bidder, submitted eligibility, technical, and financial documents shall be properly marked with index tabs and must be sequentially paginated in accurate order in the form as we will be showing later, and pagination shall be sequential all throughout the documents inside the envelope. Bids not complying with the above instruction shall be automatically disqualified. Second, each bidder shall submit one copy of the first and second components of its bid. Third, for CAAP Memorandum dated 17 September 2018, the disqualification of prospective bidders with pending case against the government in the procurement activities of the CAAP, all prospective bidders shall be required to submit the following: A. Certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirement of bidders as prescribed under the revised IRR of RA 9184. B. Legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP ELS with respect to the non-pendency of any case of prospective bidders against the authority. And lastly, notarized certificate of employment of the professional electrical engineer that will sign and seal the reports, attesting at least 1 year employment with the company for corporations or ownerships or part owner for sole proprietorship or partnership on the date of submission of bid. Shown in the illustration are the example on how you will sign the pagination of your bids, and also the documents for eligibility and technical requirements on the first envelope, and the second envelope for financial proposal, which will be contained on a single envelope for submission. Moving on to the general conditions of the contract with corresponding SEC. For scope of contract, delivery of documents, the delivery of the goods shall be made by the supplier in accordance with the terms specified in Section 6. For purpose of this clause, the procuring entity representative at the project site is Engineer Darwin V. Calio, Acting Division Chief 3 of Electromechanical Monitoring and Inspection Division of Air Navigation Operations Department. For incidental services, the supplier must provide all services, including extra in Section 6, maintain and repair goods and supply necessary tools. The contract price includes these services and must not exceed standard rates. For intellectual property rights, the supplier shall indemnify the procuring entity against all the third-party claims of infringement of patent, trademark, or industrial design rights arising from use of the goods or any part thereof. For the schedule of requirements, these are I think we have 10 items with the descriptions of each. Also included here are the quantity and the number of days of these items to be delivered. So all in all, they have 10 items listed.
Statement of compliance.
Papasahin natin. For technical specifications, the bidders are should submit a statement of compliance for each item stated in the technical specifications. And also there are 10 items listed. For checklist of technical and financial documents. Number 1, for technical component envelope, a legal document, valid PhilJEPS registration certificate in accordance with Section 8.5.2 of the IRR. Technical documents, B, statement of the prospective bidder of all its ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity to the contract of the bid. And statement of the bidder's single largest completed contract similar to the contract to be bid, except under conditions provided for sections 23.4.1.3 and 23.4.2.4 of the 26 revised RRR of 9184 within the relevant period as provided in the bidding documents. Original copy of bid security in the form of surety bond. Submit also a certification issued by the Insurance Commission or original copy of notarized bids securing declaration. Next, conformity with the technical specification, which may include production, delivery, schedule, manpower requirements, and/or after-sales parts if applicable. Next, original duly signed omnibus sworn statement, and if applicable, original notarized secretary certificate in case of a corporation, partnership, or cooperative, or original special power of attorney for all members of the joint venture, giving full power and authority to the officer to sign the OSS and do acts to represent the bidder. Next, legal clearance to be issued by the CAAP ELS with respect to the non-pendency of any case of prospective bidders against the authority, and certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case or cases against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirement for bidders as prescribed under rules implementing the revised implementing rules and regulations of RA 9184, and copy of original notarized certificate of employment for at least 1 year with the company for corporation or ownership or co-ownership for single proprietorship or joint venture of the professional electrical engineer that will sign and seal the final reports. And lastly, copy of bid bulletins if applicable. For financial documents, the prospective bidders' computation of net financial contracting capacity or NFCC or a committed line of credit from a universal or commercial bank in lieu of its NFCC computation. And if applicable, a duly signed joint venture agreement in case the joint venture is already in existence, or duly notarized statement from all the potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the JVA in the instance of a bid is successful. For financial component envelope, first one, original or duly signed and accomplished financial bid form. Second, original or duly signed and accomplished price schedules. Other documents requirement under RA 9184 as applicable. That's all, I think. Mr. Chair, that's all. The floor is open for discussion or clarification of any of the prospective bidders, sir.
Any questions or clarifications from our would-be bidders? From sige.
Good morning po.
Good morning.
Si Greg po ito, Sonar Power.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, sir. Yung question ko po is about dun sa Class A documents under technical documents po. Dun sa letter B, dun sa prospective bidders of all ongoing government and private contracts, including but awarded but not yet started, mayroon po ba kang form? Specific form, or kami na lang po yung gagawa?
There's actually a prescribed form for that, sir. You may be able to check that form from the GPPB website.
Okay, sir. And also yung sa bid security po, mayroon po ba kayong required bonding company?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Sir, yung sa bid security po, yung in surety bond, meron po ba kayong required or accredited bonding company. Kung saan po kami kukuha ng lead security.
Through the chair, we don't have any preferred or any list with regard to that matter, sir. As long as it
Okay
is
po.
registered, sir, and legally recognized po. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah. You just have to ensure that the insurance company is registered under the Insurance Commission. So that's the only criteria that we check whether the surety company is registered under the Insurance Commission. Thank you.
Did you get that, Mr. Pantas? Greg?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you.
And also yung BOQ format po for financial, dun din po ba sa website makikita yon? Para po makapag format kami ng financial.
I'm not sure. We'll check, Mr. Chair, and should it not be available, the Secretariat will be happily to provide assistance for that, Mr. Chair.
Any more?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Mr. Velasco ba? Yes,
Yes,
please.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. From ANS, sir. So may advice ko lang, there's another supplier that seek na papasukin sa meeting room. Resonance daw po yung ano nila, yung company, in the name of Edmond Pagilagan of Resonance. Hindi daw makapasok, Mr. Chair. Ayan na. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Edmond, do you have any question? Or nakapasok lang si Edmond?
I think kakapasok niya lang, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Kapapasok ko lang ngayon.
Okay. Do you have any questions, clarification? We are in the discussion portion already.
So far wala pa, sir. Wala naman.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? EWG? Any?
Good morning po, Sanar po ulit.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, dun po sa ilalagay po naming mga other completed project na single largest project, meron po ba kayong amount limit na required, for example, above 1 million project or at least 500,000?
Through the chair, allow me to respond to that question. Yes, sir. Actually, according to the revised IRR, the amount of the SLCC should be at least 50% of the ABC of this project. So that's the minimum requirement. Thank you.
Noted, sir. Thank you po.
Any more?
Hey, sir. Sorry po. Dun po ulit sa form nung ongoing project, saan po uling website makikita yun, sir? Sa CAAP po ba?
Yes, Normally, these forms are already included as part of the bidding documents, so feel free to inspect the bidding documents. And should you have any further inquiries or queries or questions or clarifications, we'd like to remind everyone, especially our prospective bidders attending this conference, that you have 10 days, up to 10 days before the opening of bid to submit your written requests or clarifications. Thank you.
Noted, sir, but upon checking po sa bid docs, wala pong nakalagay na hindi po included yung form.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. To our prospective bidders, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Perhaps the the end user will just prepare a bid bulletin indicating or attaching the prescribed form for this project. For the ongoing projects. Thank you, sir.
So let's include that in the bid bulletin. Any more? There being no more questions, I think we are ready to go to the next in the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Since there are no more questions for agenda item 2.2, TWG is recommending for the closure of this conference, Mr. Chair. And Secretariat, can all the prospective bidders for the conference that was recently concluded be excused?
We would like to thank everyone, the prospective bidders for joining. You are all excused po, to the Secretariat, to the link administrator. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Any more? Any next in the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is the Pre-procurement Conference for 4 projects, all under CSIS, for the provision of security services for CAAP for area centers 4, 5, 8, and 9, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ms. Odessa Cortez will present the TOR.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I will be presenting the pre-procurement for provision of security services for CAAP Area Center 4 with CBA number 203070823. For the invitation to bid, the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, through the corporate operating budget for FY 2023, intends to apply the sum of 29,578,679 pesos and 16 centavos for the first year only, being the ABC of payments under the contract for provision of security services for CAAP Area 4 under a 3-year service agreement. Bids received in excess of ABC shall be automatically rejected at bid opening. The CAAP now invites for the procurement project, for the above procurement project. Delivery of services is required for a period of 3 years. Bidders should have completed within 3 years from the date of submission and receipt of bids a contract similar to the project. The description of eligible bidder is contained in the bidding documents, particularly in Section 2, Instruction to Bidders. As shown is the airports for CAAP Area 4. We have 5 airports: Puerto Princesa, Busuanga, San Vicente, Cuyo, and Arcag, Palawan. The project requires 93 security guards and the cost of bidding documents is 28,000. Bidding will be conducted through open competitive bidding procedures using a non-discretionary pass-fail criterion as specified in 2016 revised implementing rules and regulations of the Republic Act 9184. Bidding is restricted to Filipino citizen or sole proprietorship, partnership, or organization with at least 60% interest or outstanding capital stock belonging to citizens of the Philippines, and to citizens or organization of a country, the laws or organizations to which grant similar rights or privileges to Filipino citizens pursuant to RA 5183. Prospective bidder may obtain further information from CAAP and inspect the bidding documents at address given during regular hours from 8 to 5, Mondays to Fridays except holidays, weekends, and suspension of work. A complete set of bidding documents may be acquired by the bidders until the deadline of submission of bids from CAAP, Back Office, Mia Road, Pasay City, and upon payment of applicable fee for the bidding documents pursuant to the latest guidelines issued by GPPB in the amount of 28,000. The procuring entity shall allow the bidder to present its proof of payment for fees by presenting the official receipt in person or through email. Bids duly received by the BAC Secretariat through manual submission to the office address given on or before, I think we will set the schedule for this. Late bids shall not be accepted. All bids must be accompanied by the bid security in any of the acceptable forms and amounts stated in ITB Clause 14. Bid opening shall be on, to be identified at the CAAP back office and or via Google Meet. Bids will be open in the presence of bidders' representative who choose to attend the activity. CAAP reserve the right to reject any of and all bids declare a failure of bidding or not award the contract at any time prior to contract award in accordance with Section 35.6 and 41 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 without thereby incurring any liability to the affected bidder or bidders. You may visit our website, the following website for downloading of the bidding documents, the PhilZEP's website and the CAAP website. For further information, please refer to the overall BAC Secretariat, Ms. Engineer Gary M. J.D., and the contact number shown. For the under Section 3, bid data sheet with corresponding ITB clause, under 5.3, eligible bidders, the bidders must have completed with at least a period of 3 years prior to the submission and receipt of bids, a single contract that is similar to the project, equivalent to 50% of the ABC, or have at least 2 similar contracts, and aggregate contract amount should be equivalent of at least 50% of the ABC, with the largest of the similar contracts being equivalent to at least 25% of the ABC. For this purpose, similar contracts are referred to contracts involving provision of security services. Under 7.1, subcontracting. Subcontracting is not allowed. Under ITB 10.1, documents comprising the technical documents. The checklist will be discussed later. Under 10.2, statement of all ongoing government and private contracts, including contracts awarded but not yet started within the last 3 years from 2020 to present prior to the deadline of submission of bids and receipt of bids. Please see attached Form BF Form 1. Under ITB 10.2, SLCC, statement of the single largest completed contract similar to the contract to be bid, the SLCC shall be equivalent to at least 50% of the ABC, or 2 similar completed contracts and aggregate contracts amounts should be equivalent to at least 50% of the ABC, with the largest of the similar contracts being equivalent to at least 25% of the ABC and completed within the last 3 years from 2020 to present, prior to the deadline for the submission and receipt of bids. Under BF Form 2, bids not complying with the above instruction shall be disqualified. Under ITB 11.1, a bid form and financial proposal shall be used for the bidder's sum total of its financial proposal. The bidder shall also submit the bill of quantities using the BF Form 12 under Section 8 bidding forms, and the bidder can change or modify items, formulas, or amounts indicated in the BOQ, and should supply only amounts corresponding to agency fee, value-added tax, and minimum contract rate. The BOQ shall be accomplished or submitted by region and must be dated and signed by the bidder's authorized representative. Bids not complying with the above instructions shall be disqualified. Under ITB 11.3, bids exceeding the ABC of the project shall be disqualified. Under ITB 12.0, for the bid price, as shown is the bid price and the basis of computation for this project. Since it is under Region 4B, Mimaropa, and the basis for its dollar wage order computation. Under ITB 14.1, bid security. The bid security shall be in the form of bid security declaration or any of the following forms. The amount of not less than 2% of the ABC if the bid security is in cash, cashier's or manager's check, bank draft guarantee, or irrevocable letter of credit, or the amount of not less than 5% of the ABC if the bid security is in surety bond. Under ITB 15.0, sealing and marking of bids, each and every page thereof shall be initialed or signed by the duly authorized representative of the bidder. Submitted eligibility and technical and financial documents are encouraged to be marked with index tabs or ear tabs and must be sequentially paginated in accurate order in a form of page 3 of 100. Pagination should be sequential on the entire span of the whole documents inside the envelope. Each bidder shall submit one original copy of the first and second component of its bid. All pages of the bid proposal shall be signed or initialed by the principal bidder or the bidder's authorized representative. Bids not complying with the above instructions shall be disqualified. Under 19.3, detailed evaluation and comparison of bids. The bidder must render its statement of compliance and conformity with the bidding documents as enumerated and specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements, and Section 7, Technical Specification. Bids not complying with the above instruction shall be disqualified. Under 19.3, the approved budget of the contract is again 29,578,679.16 centavos for the first year only. And for purposes of clarity, the ABC is composed of the salaries and wages, agency fee, and the 12% VAT based on the agency fee. Under ITB 19.5, the NFCC computation or a line of credit from the Universal or Commercial Bank under BF Form number 3. Under ITB 20.1, post-qualification documents. Number 1, latest income tax return, field jobs registration certificate, appropriate licenses and permits required by law as stated in the bidding documents, including firearms and Number 4, bidders, company profile and organizational structure of private security agency indicating names of its agency officers, certificate of satisfactory performance from at least 3 previous and existing clients, certified true copy of clearance of no derogatory record from PNP SOSIA, certified true copy of valid and current registration as contractor issued to the bidder by the regional office of DOLE where it principally operates pursuant to Department Order Number 174, Series of 2017, latest monthly disposition report, stamped and received by PNP SOSIA 3 consecutive months prior to the opening of bids, and present month, authority to conduct site inspection, BF Form 8, notarized certificate of site inspection, BF Form 9. Number 11, clearance certificate from the following: SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and BIR, and certification of pending or no pending labor standards violation case or cases issued by the following agencies pertaining to the provision of security services from DOLE and NLRC. Failure to submit any of the post-qualification requirements on time or a finding against the veracity thereof shall disqualify the bidder for award. CAAP shall thereafter award the contract to the next lowest calculated responsive bid. Under Section 5, Special Conditions of the Contract with the corresponding GCC clause. Under 2.2, payment shall be made upon presentation by the PSA security provider of the billing for the covered period subject to the usual accounting and auditing rules and regulations. The billing shall be accompanied by the following: shown certificate of performance from CSIS official in the area or airport attested by the area or airport manager, official receipt from the remittances paid for the necessary benefits of the security guards, SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and withholding taxes. Certification under oath attesting that it is compliant with the DOLE minimum wage order in accordance with its representation and warranties. 1 copy of original and 4 copies of monthly deployment report duly accomplished by security agency at the end of each month, stating the names of the guards and supervisors, salary rates, and actual attendance. Certification under oath attesting its prompt payment of wages and benefits of security guards. Copy of the monthly disposition report stamped and received by PNP Sosya for the prior month. The PSA shall pay taxes due in relation to the contract in full and on time. Its failure to do so shall entitle CAAP to suspend payments for the services delivered by the PSA under EO 398. The billing statement with attachment as stated in SEC DCC Clause 2.2 items 1 to 6 shall be submitted on or before the 10th day of the next billing month. Non-submission of the said documents will subject to the penalty provision stated in the table of offenses and violations and penalties under Annex D. Performance of security services under contract shall likewise be in accordance with the terms of reference. Under GCC Clause 3.0, please refer to Section 9, Terms of Reference. Under GCC Clause 4.0, inspection and test. The inspection and test that will be covered are the following: physical condition of goods, conformity of the goods to the technical specification, authenticity of goods, and whether goods delivered are functioning. Non-compliance or violations of items stated in Clause 4.0 shall result in the cancellation or termination of security services contract based on the findings of the Technical Inspection and Acceptance Committee during the technical inspection and acceptance of the project. Under Section 6, Schedule of Requirement, as shown, the project will be requiring 93 guards for 51 guard posts under CAAP Area Center 4. For ARCAG, for the work shift schedule, ARCAG will still retain with the 8-hour or the 3-shift schedule. So under Area 4, for airports, we will have the 2-shift schedule, except for the ARCAG that will be having 3-shift schedule as shown. For the equipment requirements,
will you go back?
Yes, sir.
Itong shift schedule, actually, pwede bang kwento? Depende dun sa mga schedule ng airlines.
Yes, sir. This is only a sample, sir.
Yes. So the shift schedule ng first shift sa second shift can be changed by the airport manager or the area center manager, depending on the schedule of flights.
Yes, sir. May I continue, sir? Yes, sir. For the equipment requirements, we will be requiring firearms and ammunitions, as shown, for 9mm and 12 GA shotgun, and their respective number of ammunitions, communication equipment, base radios, handheld radios, and cellular phones, motor vehicle, 4-wheel motor vehicle and motorcycle, and other equipment requirements as shown, and the individual uniform requirements for guards as shown, and the activities for the 7 calendar days after receipt of the notice of award, the submission of TOA files of the PSA to CSIS, the 93 days, the TIAC, and next will be the TIAC process, then actual deployment. After actual deployment is the basic aviation security training course for the security guards. Under Section 7, Technical Specification, for the qualification of security guards, under the for the detachment commander will be requiring 5 years experience and must possess a valid security officer license. For head guard or shift in charge, must have at least 3 years experience in operations and must possess a valid security officer license. And for security guards, must have at least 2 years experience as security guard and must possess a valid security guard license. For other security requirements, the PSA or the PSA guards must undergo basic aviation training, Phase 1 theoretical and Phase 2 OJT checkout within 6 months from the date of posting of guards. The PSA provider shall directly coordinate with CSIS for the schedule of the said training. The PSA provider must require the security personnel to undergo ABSEC recurrency training every 2 years for previously deployed aviation security personnel. And number 3, the PSA provider must establish a liaison office near any satellite airports or facilities of CAAP Area Center 4, complete with office equipment, consumable office supplies, office company signage, and manned by an office clerk or personnel at company expense upon effectivity of the contract. Makeshift office shall not be accepted. Conduct of at least 2 relevant security trainings and seminars such as but not limited to the following. Shown 1 to 4. Bomb recognition, behavioral detection, crowd control, CPR, and first aid training. And the project also requires site inspection. The prospective bidder shall conduct site inspection in each airport or facility. The format of certificate of site inspection must be in accordance with the form provided in the bidding documents BF Form 9. So this is a sample of the authority to conduct site inspection signed by the ADG for CSIS and the certificate of site inspection that is notarized. And apart from the certificate of site inspection, we will be requiring a photocopy of company ID in person to conduct the site inspection and the photocopy of the airport facility logbook. These requirements will be submitted during the post-qual and not during the opening of bids. For the checklist of financial and technical and financial documents under the technical documents, valid field jobs registration and certificate and membership, all pages, registration certificate from SEC, DTI, and sole proprietorship or cooperative development authority for cooperatives or its equivalent document, mayor's or business permit issued by the city or municipality where the principal place of business of prospective bidder is located, or the equivalent document for exclusive economic zones or areas, tax clearance for Executive Order Number 398, Series of 2005, as finally reviewed and approved by the BIR, statement of the prospective bidder of all its ongoing government and private contracts within 3 years from CY 2020 to present, including contracts awarded but not yet started, if any, whether similar or not similar in nature and complexity of the contract to be bid under BF Form Number 1. Statement of the bidder's single largest completed contract or SLCC completed within 3 years from 2020 to present, similar to the contract to be bid except under conditions provided in Section 23.4.1.3 and 23.4.2.4 of the 2016 revised IRR of RA 9184 within the relevant period as provided in the bidding documents, BF Form Number 2. Prospective bidders' computation of net financial contracting capacity or a committed line of credit from universal or commercial bank in lieu of the NFCC computation. See BF Form Number 3. Under technical documents, original copy of bid security, if any of the form of a surety bond, submit also certification issued by Insurance Commission or original copy of notarized bid securing declaration BF Form Number 4. statement of compliance or conformity with the bidding documents as enumerated and specified in Section 6, Schedule of Requirements, and Section 7, Technical Specification. Certified true copy of PSA valid and current regular, not provisional license to operate LTO issued by the PNP Social, valid on the date of submission and opening of bids. Original duly signed omnibus sworn statement, and if applicable, original notarized secretary certificate in case of a corporation, partnership, or cooperative, or original special power of attorney of all members of the joint venture giving full power and authority to its officer to sign OSS and do acts to represent the bidder. BF Form Number 5. Certification under oath attesting that they have no pending case or cases against the government, in addition to the eligibility requirements as prescribed under 2016 IRR of 9184. BF Form Number 6. Legal clearance to be issued by CAAP Enforcement and Legal Service with respect to the non-pendency of any cases of prospective bidders against the authority. Bid bulletin if applicable. Notarized affidavit of undertaking under BF Form 7. The bidder's audited financial statement showing, among others, the bidder's total current assets and liabilities, stamped and received by BIR or its duly accredited authorized institutions for preceding calendar year, which should not be earlier than 2 years from the date of submission, and if applicable, duly signed joint venture agreement in case of a joint venture is already in existence, or a duly notarized statement for all potential joint venture partners stating that they will enter into and abide by the provisions of the GVA in the existence of the bid if the bid is successful. For the second envelope, the financial component, original or duly signed accomplished bid financial form, BF Form 10, financial proposal submission sheet, BF Form 11, and bill of quantities, BF Form 12. So all the documents has its BF form attached in the bidding documents. For the end user recommendation, the end user recommends the approval of the bidding documents for posting at PhilJEP's website.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, just some clarification for the end user. We had a discussion recently regarding the certificate of satisfactory compliance. Have we included that already in the bid documents?
Yes, it's already included. However, based on the instruction of the ADG for CSIS, we will not be issuing memorandum to area managers with regards to the issuance of certificate of satisfactory.
Meron naman tayo, di ba? It is the airport managers that should issue this satisfactory. Kasi sila ang nasa ground eh. Hindi yung central office. So
just to clarify, Mr. Chair, because during our discussion, it was recommended by the members of the TW as well, so that we can also verify here in the head office if they really do comply with the requirements of the TOR, that we recommend that there is a note, at least by the chairman or the vice chair, sir, that indeed the security service provider has complied with the terms of reference and has performed satisfactorily in their recent contract. So it was a topic that we discussed during our previous meeting, sir.
yes, we recognize na mayroon tayong lapses diyan. I'm not really sure kung nabasa nga ng mga airport managers yung provisions ng contract natin. Pero I assume na they know it. And this is something that we have to emphasize, yung mga penalties and violations of security agencies. As you know na mayroon tayong isang case dyan na pending, It's the documentation that we really want to emphasize para immediate yung collection ng penalties on our part. So there is no, I do not know ang established procedure for collecting penalties from the PSAs sa inyong procedures. Do you have how do you really collect from PSAs?
Si Attorney Frank is raising his hand. Baka may input siya. Attorney Frank, you're raising your hand. Do you want to say something?
Mr. Chair, this is in connection to, I mean, this is another matter, Mr. Chair, not in relation to what is being discussed right now. But I'll bring up my concern after the discussion, sir. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I think the Vice Chair is asking something. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. With regards to the violations for with the contracts at area centers, the violations are filed at the area accounting, and then they are the ones who subject the deduction for the billings. So sila po yung nakakaalam nung kung magkano yung binabawas, kung ilan yung violations. However, the CSIS main office provided a memorandum to all our CSIS supervisors, area supervisors, to provide us copies of these violations para inform din kami dito. Kasi sometimes dun sa ground, nabawas na yung hindi namin alam na meron palang ganitong violations. And of course, to monitor those violations from the area centers.
Through the chair, just to reiterate my comment a while ago, the reason why we wanted to recommend such memorandum or such signing by the ADG of CSIS here in the head office is, for example, is to prevent bidders or current services provider from bidding again in case they have violations in the contract. So it takes, it takes a lot of time for us to blacklist airing services provider, not only in the security services, sir, but also in other projects. And as a matter of fact, we have bidders or services provider that still are able to bid in our projects despite the fact that they cannot deliver satisfactorily or despite breaches in the terms of reference or their contract with us. That's why we're thinking of create ways wherein we can strictly implement the terms of reference and prevent erring bidders or those who cannot satisfy from participating further in our bids or in our procurement processes, sir. That's why we were able to come up at least this recommendation. So it's easier for us to at least lessen or at least come up with the final list of bidders dun pa lang po dun sa initial phase of our procurement.
Para ma-blacklist sila kung I don't really know yung mga procedures ng blacklisting. I don't know the provisions of blacklisting.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you for that. Ako naman, my input on that is, would this additional step further delay process of billing if it has to go through? Is this part of, this is not just part of the acceptance process, right? What you're saying would probably entail additional step when the security service provider would be, well, bill us for the services. Will that be part of that? Is it a certification of a satisfactory implementation of their services?
Yes, sir, that's part of their billing.
Required ba yan when they bill us? So
Opo.
what you're recommending, Attorney Nestor, is to add an additional layer, meaning when the airport manager, who supposedly are on the ground and would be more knowledgeable on how they are implementing the provisions of the contract, certify that they are indeed satisfactorily providing and performing the requirements from us, then it has to go through all the way here to the head office before they can start billing. Is that the intention of your recommendation?
Sir, no, sir. For clarification, sir, we only recommend that, sir, for their bid, sir, and not if they were already awarded the contract. Ma'am Modeng, can you go back to the slide that states the requirement for billing, and then let's go back to the slide that requires the certificate or the SEC part. Attorney Frank is raising his hand po, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but let's settle this first. Yung gusto mong idagdag na certified ng head office, that is part of what requirement? Eligibility, technical, or financial? Eligibility. So it's a one-time, saan dyan, Deng? Wala kasi
Sir, it is submitted during the post-qualification, sir.
post-qualification.
Yes, sir. We will require them to submit the...
What you're requiring is a certification coming from the area.
Yes.
Now, na satisfactory yung performance nila.
Opo.
So, ang gusto ni Attorney Nestor, dumaan pa sa head office. Okay, tama. Alright. Attorney Frank, is your question related to what is being discussed now?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Frank, please.
Mr. Chair, I support the position of CSIS, Mr. Chair, that I don't see the need for the central office to note that the issued certificate of satisfactory performance by the area center has to go through the central office. The fact, Mr. Chair, that the area center managers or the area center concerned has the better or is in a better position to certify whether that bidder or that service provider has satisfactorily complied with all the requirements under the contract. And it would possibly create, Mr. Chair, a scenario wherein the area center provides a satisfactory a certification of satisfactory performance, but the central office do not agree or does not agree with what is what was issued by the area center concerned. So in order to avoid such situation, Mr. Chair, I support with CSIS that it is the area center concerned who can certify whether the performance of such bidder is satisfactory or not. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Comment.
Go ahead.
Meron kasi sa atin na penalties eh. When a certain PSA has committed several violations and say, example, accumulate na siya ng 1 million, will you consider that as not satisfactory? Ilan ba yung penalties? Hindi clear yun eh, dito sa TOR. Parang,
The question is directed to whom, Vice?
may provision ba dyan na when it reaches a certain amount?
Yes,
yung
I think that's a
penalties.
very good point. You have to define what is satisfactory performance.
Yes.
So it's there. It's part of the... Okay. I think the interest of the membership is really to understand, is there a definition of what satisfactory performance is, so that whether it's going to be the area center or the head office, whoever certifies, you're using the same parametric formula in determining whether a performance is satisfactory or below what is expected of them as a PSA.
Sir, yung nakalagay dito sa terms of reference natin, sir, is the violation during implementation na, sir. But yung tanggapin sila or papasa sila sa post-qualification, hindi po nakalagay.
No. Okay. You are requiring in post-qualification certificate of satisfactory performance from at least 3 previous and existing clients.
Yes, sir.
Malamang tayo yung isa doon. So, wala tayo pakialam doon sa pwede. So, kung iba, wala kang pakialam kung ano yun as long as they certify satisfactory. Is that what you're saying? So, we will rely on the other clients on what is satisfactory? Oh, sige, I'll give you that. But if it is CAAP, how do you determine that the performance was considered satisfactory in order for you to be able to comply with that certification? And going back to the point of Nestor, I still don't, okay, you have to explain this to me. Why do you want it to go through the head office? Would the certification coming from the area manager not enough for purposes of blacklisting a non-satisfactory security agency for this matter?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, this is not blacklisting because blacklisting has a separate procedure under 9184. But short of blacklisting, this is what we are recommending. During our conversation with Ma'am Odeng, she cited an instance wherein an area center was able to certify that a security services provider performed satisfactorily. However, it was found out that they have several breaches in their terms of in their TOR or in the contract with us, sir. So going to your question regarding how can we quantify whether a security services provider has satisfactorily performed their end of the contract, sir. So I believe it is my opinion that they must comply with all the provisions of the TOR. So given that they have, for example, pending liabilities or payment they have to make to pay to us, that is an indication that they have not performed satisfactorily or at least they have not performed the end of the contract, because it means that they have pending obligations. They have, to a certain extent, they have breached their contract, the end of the contract, and they have failed to deliver to some extent the non-negotiable part of the contract. We know that we have at least allow certain leeway for these providers, for example, not to perform the end of the contract.
Yeah, how do you, again, I don't want to be a douche about this, but how do you define non-negotiable? For instance, if you're saying, going by your argument, Attorney Mendoza, you have to comply with the requirements with all the annexes. Okay, dapat meron kang certain number of firearms, your uniform, number of personnel, how you tidy your security guards, di ba? So, nag-i-issue ka, as I understand, nag-i-issue ka ng violation. Sa isang araw, may nakita kang kulang yung uniform. That's already a violation.
Yes, sir.
So, would that be a ground for you to say na non-satisfactory na yung performance mo? Therefore, you're disqualified from participating in the succeeding biddings once your contract expires?
Before I proceed, Mr. Chair, I believe, let me just first cite that in jurisprudence and even in law, there's no concrete example of a breach of contract, because there are slight breaches and there are major breaches as defined by the Supreme Court. However, sir, when it comes to this breach, you are correct, sir. There are slight breaches, for example, in the non-compliance with uniform, firearms, sir. But I believe, sir, the determination whether or not a security service provider has complied satisfactorily with their end of the bargain must come from the end user, sir. And that determination, sir, cannot be subjected to a firm and well-defined parameter, as it can vary case to case, sir. For example,
but again, and not to cut you, but am I understanding that you want the CSIS to be whimsical and capricious in determining what is considered as a violation?
Of course not, sir. This recommendation stems from one of the cases, sir, and I believe Ma'am Odeng can discuss the example that we want to prevent po. Of course, CSI must exercise their discretion carefully in order not to prevent, of course, whimsical determination whether or not a service provider has breached their contract or not.
All right. Okay, for the record, I agree with you in terms that it has to go through the end user, but I would have to defer to the end user on this because they know better, and the chair will not vote if we put this to vote. So, not to further belabor the issue, can we just divide the House on the membership so that we can move forward on the recommendation of Attorney Mendoza? For the BAC members, there are, of course, Attorney Mendoza cannot move, but there's a recommendation to include in the, what is that, the terms of reference ba yun? Or yung requirement na yun? Sa post-qual requirement, that the certification should come from the end user. Okay? May I request the inputs of the members if they would subscribe to the recommendation of the TWG, or do we retain that it goes through the proper ambit of the power or obligation of the not the end user, but the area manager?
Sir, just to clarify, we will not remove the signature or the approval of the area manager.
So what do you want?
Sir, recommending ang area manager, and ang final approval, sir, is CSIS head. Just so we can counter-check, sir, if they really fulfill the TOR, sir.
Gen B, sorry, I have to defer this to your better judgment because you know the process. Ang concern ko lang, I actually agree with Nestor. There has to be some oversight. But again, I have to balance it out with our experience of how long it would take on the processing. Thank you, sir. So, yeah, go ahead, please.
There are some lapses sa billing. It takes something like 3 months bago makita natin yung billing na sinasubmit. And dahil nga dito sa katagalan, hindi na napapansin masyado that there were violations. Pero the violations are recorded by the airport managers. Diba? And ang sa akin, it would be okay lang sa akin kung this will really pass sa CSIS para kung may i-correct, can be corrected immediately.
Okay, so wala naman pala tayong conflict. I mean, it's just a matter of explanation. Again, I agree with Attorney Nestor, but I just have to tweak it a bit that really you cannot use jurisprudence and the case law in terms of this because you need to move fast. You have to have a concrete parametric formula on how you determine whether it's satisfactory or not. Otherwise, we will be accused of being capricious, whimsical in our dealings, because it's going to be your interpretation of what would be constitutive of, well, you know, you can always nitpick a particular contractor or a particular service provider. We've experienced that in the past. I mean, of course it happens. So I would still propose that you have a parametric formula. It's internal. We don't have to show it to the bidders or to the possible service providers. But at least when push comes to shove, you have something to show that this is our basis. It's not really scientific, but it could be mathematical. So, yun lang. But, so, with that, I assume we're taking the recommendation of the TWG. Include that, be it implicit or explicit, so long as the determination has to finally go through the office of the ADG2 for CSIS. Okay?
Tama ka, sir. I think yung procedure is CAAP procedure on getting the penalties, the appropriate penalties between the area manager and CSI lang yan eh.
Yes, sir.
It does not involve the security agency kasi violation na yan.
Yes.
We are just implementing. So, to my mind, sir, I think CSIS will have to formulate a memo o SOP para ma-prevent, ma-expedite, ma-prevent yung lapses na
Yes.
nangyayari.
Tsaka nakalagay naman ata doon certificate, wala naman nakalagay kung kanino kukunin. Nakalagay ba? Also that you have to clarify, baka kasi saan sila kukuha. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, sorry, just to clarify and put an emphasis to it, we will only require it for post-qua and not for billing. So yung takot po natin na magtatagal, sir, it will not be included therein. So sa post-qua lang po talaga siya. And to answer Mr. Chair's question regarding quantifying what is a breach, it is my personal recommendation, sir, that we consider a serious breach if it affects our obligation to follow ICAO standards. And maybe TWG can meet again to discuss what is a major breach from a less serious breach. What will...
mahirap nga yan
Yes,
yung
sir.
proposal mo eh. Kasi it's so legalist to determine what's material, what's substantial. Of course, it depends on whose perspective, diba? So, in order for you to do that, why don't you just be in agreement with CSIS to come up with yun, procedures, na-violate mo number na ganito, sa isang linggo, meron ka nang na-violate na ganito. That's substantial for me. Parang gano'n.
Mayroon kasi mga violations na dapat nakukorek ka agad. Halimbawa, absences. Absent yung isang security guard. Dapat immediately nakukorek yan eh. It should not take 2 days, 3 days. Dapat nandun na siya. May kapalit. So every day yan, every number of hours during formations, nakikita naman yan eh. Supposedly nakikita kung ginagawa ng CSIS in the area ang kanyang trabaho. So we will place that sa SOP.
Okay.
May input ka ba?
Sir, I'm sorry. I think it's in the previous contract, sir, that the summary of violation exceeded 10% of the total amount of the contract. It is, sir? Sa previous, ito kasi sir, new contracts ito. Yun, mga previous
Tinanggal
contracts. No, sir.
So, nandiyan pa rin siya.
Yes, sir. Sa old, sir.
Ay, pinag-away-away lang tayo ni Uding.
Sorry.
Sir,
Sorry, sir.
another problem that will arise. If it exceeds 10%, ibibid mo yung magbibiding ka.
Sir, question. Applicable ba yun kahit...
Paano? Sorry?
Hindi ba pag nag-exceed ng 10%, what is your action?
Termination, sir.
Termination. Determinate mo. Magbibiding ka pa ulit.
Hindi yun, parang termination eh. It's akin to an infrastructure contract. Pag nag-exceed ka ng 15%, correct me if I'm wrong So, what I'm seeing with the 10% is that is the equivalent of the 15% threshold on the slippage. So, pag nag-15% ka na, pwede mo na i-terminate. It does not mean you will terminate the contract. So, you will issue a notice to explain why we should not terminate. Then, babalik sila with their explanation. If you find that acceptable, then you push through with the contract and then penalize them with that. So, parang gano'n. But, yun yung magiging material, substantial, and then you will also consider yung operational requirement. What would be more beneficial to the government service, especially in infrastructure. Kukumputin nila yan with per CPM, with kung gaano katagal pa yung magiging delay. Ito, ganun ang mangyayari. What would be the exposure of the agency if you terminate them at the onset? So, yun yung mga determination. But yes, of course, the final remedy is to terminate a contract. But are you, ngayon nga, hindi natin ma-terminate kasi wala tayong kapalit. Paano pa kaya yung mga ganyan? So, okay, that's what I'm saying. But the important thing is, meron kang formula pala na pwedeng gamitin moving forward, prospectively, kapag nasa bidding na tayo. So, doon mo siya titirahin. Kung may iba na siyang kalaban o nakalagay doon, hindi na pwede kasi nag-exceed ka na nung 10%. So, hindi ka satisfactory. Hindi ka lang namin tina-terminate because we had no other choice. Okay? So, parang ganun. So, Gen B and then Attorney Frank. Sir? Attorney Frank, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, given, sir, given that provision, Mr. Chair, so very clear na exceeding 10%, pwede ka nang ma-issuehan ng non-satisfactory. So, very precise po yung parameters po natin, yung non-satisfactory. Pwede ka ma-issuehan ng non-satisfactory certification. So, I'm going back to my position, sir, na in order not to delay for the bidders na makakuha ng certification, and very clear naman, verifiable naman lang yan ng CSI Central Office.
Yeah.
I don't see the need na, sir, na dadaan pa sa Central Office para makaano. Kasi baka lang magkaroon ng scenario na hindi in transit pa yung document, submission na ng bids, well, malalagay sa court yung authority na hindi, due to the requirements, required signatories,
Yeah.
hindi sila nakapag-comply.
Thank you. I
that's
get
my
your
position,
point.
Mr. Chair.
I get your point. Thank you, Attorney Frank. So with that parametric formula, may basis ka, whoever issues it, you just follow that. Okay? Alright. Wala naman, sa totoo lang, wala namang nakalagay. So internal lang yan. Wala namang nakalagay kung kanino mo kukunin, di ba? Oh.
Sir, if I may,
Go ahead.
mag-cite lang ako ng example,
Oh,
sir.
sige. Ayaw nyo talaga lubayan to.
Hindi,
Gusto
sir.
nyo matagal talaga
Hindi, sir.
tayo
Ang
mag-meeting.
point
Okay,
ko lang
sige.
kasi, sir, for example, Area 2. Ang
Oh.
violations niya, sir, di ba, alam naman natin, more than na siya sa 10%. Hindi rin natin siya pwedeng i-terminate kasi wala tayong palit. During previous bidding, sir.
Hindi naman siya hindi pwede. Ayaw lang natin for convenience.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
continue.
Yes, sir. So, alam natin malaki yung violations siya, more than 10%. Pero nakakuha siya ng satisfactory. Nakapapirma siya ng satisfactory.
Okay.
So, hindi namin siya pwedeng, during the post-qual, as TWG, sir, hindi namin siya pwedeng i-ano ng grounds doon na ano kasi
Bakit?
satisfactory man siya.
Bakit? I don't understand. Pwede hindi, because hindi nyo na pwedeng questionin yung iniso ng...
Meron siyang issued na satisfactory, sir. In spite of the violations.
Nag-issue yung ano. Pero ibig sabihin, invalid yung iniso ng Area 2.
Pwede yun again, sir.
Oh, kasi you have personal knowledge of their violations eh. So, una, paano nakapag-issue yung Area 2? Sino ba nag-i-issue? The airport manager or the CSI, sir?
Area manager.
Area manager. Yeah, and I think more than us debating who will sign, it is the CSI issuing a memorandum to all the airport managers and area managers that when you issue, you use this parametric formula. Baka they're also not aware. Baka, satisfactory kasi, so okay sa amin, nakikita namin. But the violations, they do not see. But again, who issues the violation? It's the airport manager, right? So supposedly, nakikita nila. Paano nyo ngayon na nakita na nag-exceed sila ng 10%? Because they submitted also or you conducted your own inspection. What is your basis for saying na nag-exceed sila ng 10% when in truth and in fact, an area manager was able to issue a satisfactory certification?
Sir, upon verification with our CSIS with regards to their violations, sir.
Oh, so nag-verify pa rin kayo even without certification?
Yes, sir. Nagulat lang kami, sir, meron siyang satisfactory. For the rest of the area centers, wala siyang nakuha. Just only for area 2.
Okay. Alright. Genvi, what's your... We give you the last say on this, sir.
Let's just go through this, Madam TO, and we will formulate an SOP.
Yeah, internal naman kasi yan,
internal.
sir. Internal. So,
Yes.
can I hear a motion already for the posting? Unless you have substantial, you have substantial comments, because these are, while it's important, this is procedural and can be corrected afterwards, but the posting, if you have substantial comments that you think will affect the, for one, publication and ensuring that as many bidders can participate, raise your concerns now to the TWG, to the Secretariat, to the members. Attorney Frank first.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Sir, I'd just like to go back dun sa pagination at saka tabing requirement. It was mentioned earlier, encourage bidders. So, I suggest, Mr. Chair, we avoid this kind of wordings, as this would create, misinterpretation, and we can maybe perhaps reword it in such a way na it is mandatory. Kasi I noticed in our previous biddings, lalo na sa security, maraming nadi-DQ sa pagination and tabings due to hindi clear yung provisions on that. So I suggest, Mr. Chair, for the end user and the technical working group to revisit, Mr. Chair, the requirement. Thank you, sir.
You mean, Attorney Frank, you don't want to make this requirement mandatory and ground for disqualification, correct?
No, Mr. Chair. Kasi previous experience kasi, sir, like yung with tinatanong nila kung yung cover page dapat kasama ba sa page 1 or hindi kasama sa page 1. So, nagiging issue siya during opening of bid. So, suggestion lang, sir, is to revisit. Although we still require, Mr. Chair, as this would maintain the integrity of the submitted documents, sir.
I have a question. Yung pagination ba, is it under law mandatory such that when you fail to comply with this particular requirement, you are automatically disqualified?
Sir, sa BDS,
Sa BDS.
I'm sorry, sir, if I may.
No.
Sa BDS, sir, wala namang nakalagay. Oo, wala sa IT, wala siyang specific, although mayroong requirement on pagination, but it's not really specified na kung ano yung form na gagamitin or on what particular manner bidder should comply. So that is why we clarify this in clause number 15.0.
I think my point, Attorney Frank, is I don't want to really be strict about this. I know and I understand the importance of pagination, considering that there may be some intercalations during, of course, you have to understand the purpose of this is transparency and accountability. But insofar as minor violations of this rule, I don't think this should be a ground for disqualification. However, it says bids not complying with the above instructions shall be disqualified. So I'm only asking for the record if this is really mandated under law. But you're saying it's not. Maybe the policy of BAC Alpha is really to relax the rule. So long as the intention of why it's being done is complied, I don't know how it's being done in Alpha, but for purposes of this, marami kasing nadi-disqualify because of non-compliances in particular requirements like this. But we've really discussed this with other agencies and hindi lahat ginagawa tong ground for disqualification. So I just want everybody to be aligned, the membership and the TWG as well, that if there are instances that would require us and give us flexibility in considering whether to disqualify because of some procedural requirement, I want you to think about the intention of public bidding, which is actually to make it competitive to allow several bidders who are qualified and competent to do so for the benefit of the government as well. So, TWG, please think about that. Okay? And take note of the comment of Attorney Frank. Any other comments related to this? If none, Attorney Nestor, what's your comment?
Sir, I second your recommendation, sir, to not make it mandatory. As we saw in previous bidding, sir, that was appealed before the Board of Directors, sir. They actually allowed the non-submission of bid bulletin, sir, is not actually a ground, as stated by numerous NPM, sir, for disqualification. So, personally, sir, I also second your recommendation. But going back, sir, to the requirement of submitting a certificate of satisfactory performance, sir. Ma'am Budeng, can we go back to that slide, please? That we require, I think, 3. Yes, that's one. That's the one. A certificate of satisfactory performance from at least 3 previous and existing clients. Sir, ang inisip ko lang dito, baka may instance na, yes, previous client tayo, but they have other clients. Tapos sa atin, non-satisfactory sila. Dun sa iba, satisfactory. Hence, dun sila kukuha ng certificate. May iwasan nila yung pinagdebatihan natin ng matagal kanina. So, can we recommend, sir, na mag-include ng clause or ng phrase that if CAAP is one of its previous client, it must get the said certificate from CAAP as well?
Diba may mga certificates yan, like legal clearance? Oh, patingin nga nun. Kasi nandun na yun, alam ko eh.
Isa sir sa mga panito,
So, let's not
weaknesses
put a
na
redundant requirement.
tama yung sinabi ni TWD.
Circumvention.
I agree na dapat kung they were a previous contractor sa atin, one of the 3 requirements na previous clients should be isa doon ang CAAP.
Number ano na tayo? Sa Pero pare-pares lang yan, di ba?
Yes sir, actually we will recommend we forgo kasi pare-pareho na yung
approve.
Yung provisions. Yung amount na lang sir ang magbabago.
Alright.
Yung
okay, good.
kasi mayroon pa tayong isa.
Oo nga eh. So, kaya nga i-move nyo na. Patingin lang ako nung sinasabi ni Nestor. That's a very good point, of course, that circumvention. Except that I know meron ka ng requirement if you're an existing, do you have legal clearance? Kung nagdemanda ka or wala. Kasi kung wala, yes, i-add nyo yun na if you're an existing, you get clearance from, you get a satisfactory performance from CAAP.
Sir, pending case lang po in ELS, sir, certification under oath attesting, no pending case, at saka legal clearance from, sir, no pending case.
Ipatingin nga nung 1 to 7.
Number 9 and lang po, sir. Yan yung clearance lang, sir.
Baba mo pa. Patingin pa ako nung iba. Certification under oath.
Wait, sir.
Sige na nga, never mind na. Basta ilagay mo na lang na siguraduhin nyo lang nandun yung sinasabi ni Nestor.
Tayo niya.
Kaya lagay nyo.
Pag nagkuhan tayo niyang satisfactory kuhan, dapat mayroon tayong basis na facts.
Okay? Alright. No further comments. Attorney Frank?
Mr. Chair, motion, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Sir, move to approve the posting of this project, Mr. Chair, subject to the revision revisions or amendment of the bid documents based on our discussions earlier. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So there's a motion to approve the bidding documents for posting at PhilJEP's website subject to the approved recommendations and revisions for 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4. Tama, Attorney Frank, no? For the record. Attorney Frank. Attorney Frank, we just need you to confirm for the record that your motion applies to 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. Frank, uy. Yes daw. Yes daw, for the record. Any second?
I second the motion, sir.
Thank you. So there's a motion duly seconded. So the committee is approving the presented bid document subject to the revisions. Please make sure that revisions are included in what will be posted at PhilJEP's website.
Yes, sir.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Please. All right. So that's for 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4.